How to tell if you're being controlled, the truth they don't want you to know. This test reveals everything. The 3-second experiment, how to find out if you're being manipulated. There's a simple experiment that reveals a disturbing truth. 80% of your daily decisions aren't actually yours. They're the result of social programming you don't even realize is running. In the next 30 seconds, I'll show you how to identify this in your own life. Reality is stranger than you think. Right now, as you're watching this video, your brain is executing thousands of micro-decisions that were programmed by other people. The brand of your phone, the position you're sitting in, even the time you chose to watch this, all of it can be traced back to external influences you absorbed without questioning. Think about your breakfast this morning. Did you consciously choose each item, or did you simply repeat the pattern from the last few months? Most people wake up and execute a sequence of actions so automated it could be programmed into a robot. They brush their teeth the same way, choose the same clothes, take the same route to work. They're not living, they're executing code. The system was designed to work this way. Consumer society needs predictable people who make decisions based on well-mapped emotional triggers. That's why you feel drawn to products promising status, relationships following movie scripts, careers offering security, even when they drain your soul. But there's a fundamental difference between being in control and having the illusion of control. When you choose between 50 types of cereal at the grocery store, you're not exercising freedom. You're navigating within a predefined menu. True freedom would be questioning whether you actually need cereal, or if that need was planted by decades of marketing. Subversive evolution begins when you develop the ability to pause before acting. It's creating space between stimulus and response, where your genuine consciousness can operate. In that microscopic space lies all your transformation potential. The most successful people aren't those who make the most decisions. They're those who make the most conscious decisions. They've learned to distinguish between authentic choice and programmed reaction. This skill separates leaders from followers, creators from consumers, free minds from enslaved ones. Your brain processes over 35,000 decisions per day, but research shows 99% happen unconsciously. You're essentially sleepwalking through life, following scripts written by marketers, social media algorithms, and cultural conditioning. The average American sees over 5,000 advertisements daily, each one designed to influence your unconscious decision-making. But here's the game changer. Once you become aware of the programming, you can start debugging it. Like a programmer finding glitches in code, you can identify and fix the mental bugs that keep you stuck in autopilot mode. Here's your first mind hack, the pause protocol. For the next 24 hours before any significant action, opening social media, buying something, responding to an email, stop for exactly 3 seconds. In that interval, ask, am I doing this by conscious choice or automatic programming? You'll discover that most of your actions are conditioned reflexes, not authentic decisions. And this discovery is the first step to reclaiming control of your life. The goal isn't perfection, it's awareness. Every moment you catch yourself in autopilot is a victory for your conscious mind. If you're ready to start deprogramming your autopilot, type protocol in the comments and tell me the first automatic action you identified. Share this video with someone who needs to wake up from the social trance, and don't forget to like so more people can discover this truth. The mental virus 90% of people have and how to cure it. I'm going to ask you a question that could change your life. How many of your dreams are actually yours? Because there's a billion-dollar industry dedicated to implanting desires in your mind and making you believe they originated inside you. The phenomenon of social contagion is more powerful than any virus. You don't just catch colds from people around you, you catch dreams, fears, values, and even personality traits. Your brain evolved to imitate, to adapt to the group, to survive socially. But in an era of infinite digital media, this ancestral programming has become a vulnerability being exploited. Look at your last 5 social media posts. How many were genuinely yours versus attempts to project an image you absorbed from influencers, movies, or people you admire? Most people live in constant performance mode, playing a version of themselves assembled from fragments collected in the digital environment. Social media algorithms aren't neutral. They were designed by behavioral psychologists who understand exactly how your reward system works. Every like, comment, and view releases dopamine in your brain, creating an addictive cycle where you seek external validation for decisions that should be internal. But the problem goes beyond social platforms. Your career choice might have been influenced by family pressure about respectable professions. Your relationship patterns could be imitations of dynamics you observed in childhood or romantic comedies. Even your hobbies might result from trends you unconsciously absorbed. The average American spends 7 hours daily consuming media. That's 2,500 hours annually of other people's ideas entering your subconscious. You're essentially downloading software updates for your personality without checking what's in the code. Most of these updates serve someone else's agenda, not your authentic growth. True personal revolution doesn't happen when you change environments. It happens when you develop the ability to filter which influences you allow into your mind. It's when you stop being a passive receiver of social programming and become an active curator of your own experience. There's a difference between inspiration and imitation. Inspiration is when something resonates with something already existing within you. Imitation is when you try to fit into a mold created by someone else. The problem is, our society teaches imitation from childhood and calls it education. The most successful entrepreneurs, artists, and leaders all share one trait. They learn to distinguish between genuine inspiration and manufactured desire. They developed what I call authenticity radar, the ability to detect when they're being influenced versus when they're being manipulated. Here's your second mind hack, the mirror test. For 1 week, whenever you feel envy, admiration, or the urge to imitate someone, pause and ask, what exactly attracts me to this person? Then question, does this reflect a genuine desire of mine, or just a social pattern I absorbed? You'll discover that many of your ambitions are actually programs other people installed in your mind. Recognizing this is the first step to uninstalling what doesn't serve and cultivating what's genuinely yours. The goal isn't to become immune to influence. It's to become selective about whose influence you accept. If you're ready to break free from social contagion, type original in the comments and share the strongest desire you discovered wasn't genuinely yours. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next mental deprogramming strategies, and tag someone in the comments who needs to stop living other people's lives. Your mind's built-in lie detector, the life-changing tool. They never taught you. There are only 2 sources of motivation in human life, fear and love. Everything you do can be traced back to one of these forces. The problem is, our society built an entire system based on fear, but disguised it as ambition. The motivation industry sells you the illusion that you need to want more to be happy, but they never question whether that more comes from a place of internal abundance or emotional scarcity. The difference between these 2 sources determines whether you're building an authentic life or just a more sophisticated prison. Examine your main goals. How many are driven by genuine desire for growth versus attempts to escape insecurities? The person seeking wealth for love of creative freedom has a completely different journey than someone seeking wealth from fear of social rejection. The goal might look the same, but the motivations create parallel realities. The same applies to relationships. Do you seek partnership from love of human connection or fear of loneliness? The difference isn't in the outcome, it's in the quality of experience. Fear-based relationships become transactions. Love-based relationships become transformations. Our culture teaches that admitting fear is weakness, so we learn to disguise insecurities as noble ambitions. I want to be rich to help my family might be genuine truth, but it could also be rationalization for I need to prove my worth through money because I feel inadequate. Research shows that people driven by intrinsic motivation, internal satisfaction, are 40% more likely to achieve their goals and report 3x higher life satisfaction than those driven by extrinsic motivation, external rewards. Yet our education system and work culture are built almost entirely on external motivators, grades, salaries, status symbols. Subversive evolution isn't about eliminating fear. It's about developing radical honesty with your own motivations. When you stop deceiving yourself about why you do what you do, you gain the power to consciously choose which force to feed. The most successful people aren't fearless, They're honest about their fears and use that honesty to make better decisions. They've learned to distinguish between fear that protects and fear that paralyzes, between love that elevates and love that enables. Here's the deepest test, the authenticity scanner. For each important area of your life, career, relationships, health, personal growth, ask these questions. If I had no fear of anyone's judgment, what would I choose to do? And if I had absolute certainty of my worth as a person, what would change in my life? The answers will reveal the difference between your authentic motivations and your defense mechanisms disguised as goals. You'll discover that many things you want are actually things you think you should want to fit in, impress, or protect yourself. True control isn't about getting everything you want. It's about wanting only what truly serves your evolution. It's the difference between being moved by external forces and being guided by your internal compass. When you align with authentic motivation, effort becomes effortless because you're working with your nature, not against it. If you're ready to apply the authenticity scanner to your life, type "scanner" in the comments and tell me which area of your life you discovered is more based on fear than love. Save this video to revisit these concepts and share it with someone who needs to stop deceiving themselves about their own motivations. The secret of the 3% who actually control their lives, finally revealed. Here's the most subversive truth of all. You'll never control the world, but you can completely master your response to it. And in that response lies all your power to create the reality you experience. The biggest lie of modern culture is that happiness is a permanent state you can conquer through external achievements. But happiness isn't a destination. It's a byproduct of living aligned with your authentic nature. When you stop chasing happiness and start cultivating integrity with yourself, something extraordinary happens. Peace becomes your natural state. Observe the most fulfilled people you know. They're not constantly happy, they're constantly whole. There's a fundamental difference between seeking pleasure and seeking completeness. Pleasure is temporary and always requires external sources. Completeness is sustainable and comes from within. The system teaches you that you need more to be enough. More money, more recognition, more experiences, more everything. But subversive evolution reveals an opposite truth. You need less to be free. Less artificial needs, less external approval, less comparison with others, less fear of what people think. American culture particularly struggles with this concept because it's built on the mythology of more is better. But research from Harvard's grant study spanning 80 years shows that the happiest, most successful people aren't those who accumulated the most. They're those who cultivated the deepest relationships with themselves and others. Personal sovereignty doesn't mean isolation. It means conscious choice about which influences you allow to affect your internal state. It's the difference between automatically reacting to environmental stimuli and consciously responding based on your fundamental values. The most powerful people in history weren't those who controlled others. They were those who mastered themselves. Marcus Aurelius, Gandhi, Maya Angelou. Their influence came from internal sovereignty, not external dominance. They understood that true power flows from authenticity, not authority. Here's your final hack, the sovereignty protocol. Identify the 3 areas of your life where you most seek external approval. Could be work, relationships, social media. For each area, define an internal success criterion that's independent of others' opinions. For example, instead of measuring professional success by your boss's approval, measure it by the feeling of using your unique abilities to create something valuable. Instead of measuring relationships by likes or attention received, measure by the quality of connection and vulnerability you can cultivate. The real test of evolution isn't what you achieve, it's who you become in the process. It's not about eliminating challenges. It's about developing the capacity to navigate them while keeping your essence intact. When you stop outsourcing your self-worth to the external world and take responsibility for your own validation, something magical happens. You become immune to emotional manipulation. People, systems, and situations lose the power to destabilize you because your stability comes from within. The journey of subversive evolution never ends. It's a continuous process of aligning who you are with how you live. But every moment of authenticity you conquer expands your real freedom, which is the freedom to be yourself, regardless of circumstances. This is your invitation to join the 3% of people who live from internal sovereignty rather than external validation. The choice is yours, but the time to choose is now. If you're ready to assume total sovereignty over your life, type sovereignty in the comments and share what will be your first action based on internal, not external criteria. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for more consciousness deprogramming content, and share this video with someone who needs to stop living to please others and start living for themselves. Your consciousness revolution starts now.